Okay, welcome. This is just going to be a really short video on installing and then setting up VS Code. So all I'm going to do is open Google and type in Visual Studio Code. This is initially going to be done in Windows, but I'll briefly do it in Linux afterwards as well. Once we've got to the web page, we just download, wait for it to finish downloading. Once it's finished downloading, launch the installer. Read the license agreement if you haven't read it before, make sure that you're happy with it, accept it. Next, you can choose the default location unless you need to change it. Again, that can say it's default unless you've got a specific reason to change it. I would suggest adding these two because they're really useful. VS Code has a lot of potential to become your de facto or go-to editor. I'm going to create a desktop icon as well. You don't have to do those, but they do offer really useful add-ons. Okay, so now we hit install. And then we're going to launch. Okay, so once we've launched, we're going to need to add in a few extensions to make it work nicely with C#. Because I've had this on here before and I didn't clear the history, we've got a number of them already set up, but it's going to say it's a reload. These are all the ones that are in the blog post. So we've got a solution explorer, we've got using statements for a sort of using statement. You won't use that initially, but it will become quite handy. The primary C# extension from Microsoft that puts C# capabilities into Visual Studio Code. Some C# extensions that are really useful. Namespace completion. Again, that will become more useful later. And the XML comments. These are just extensions that make them run more like the full version of Visual Studio. Now, what I want to say is the only one that is essential is this one here, but the others are really useful. And if they're not installed, you can search for them here just by putting in C# or solution. Okay, so the next thing is to actually open a folder. So we're going to open a folder. I've got one ready called C# demo. Now we're going to come down here. If you're lucky, this create new solution button will work like it has there. Sometimes it doesn't, so I'm going to show you two different ways, okay? So this is going to be called demo solution. And what I'm going to do is scroll up now, because that command there is exactly the one that you would have used if you couldn't do it yourself. So let's assume that button didn't work, because I have found it's not consistently reliable. Terminal, new terminal, Control and V, and in actual fact you don't need any of that. The only bit you really need is that bit there, the .NET new SLN. Once we've got the solution file here, we can right click and we can add a new project. It will ask you to select a type. For this series, we're just going to look at the console app. But as you can see, there are lots you can choose from. Most learning is done in console app. So select C#, then we're going to give it a name. And hit the enter key. That was twice because we have to select a folder name. And what we've got now is our de facto C# program. For those of you that have been reading the blog that goes with this, there are 2 versions of this you might see. It will also ask you the first time to add required assets to build and debug. So just click yes. And it'll be the last time it asks that question. This is one version. This is the new .NET 6 or .NET 7 appearance. However, you will see a lot of tutorials showing a different version to this. You might see it looking like that without the namespace, but you might also namespace demo project. And then all of this would sit inside of here. That is the classic view that users of .NET Framework are used to seeing. You will see it in a lot of demos. All it means is that you're not seeing all of this extra stuff. What you're seeing is this bit. It works exactly the same way. It is all still here. You just see that bit there. Okay, so we are now ready to start coding. If I type in console, we've got a console and we've got a right line, put in some brackets, hello world. So now we've got almost identical, and you'll see the difference because I can run this, which on the run menu, and then I can either start debugging or run without debugging. I'm going to run without debugging first time. We can see it builds. And there we go, we've got both the lines there. I'm going to stop there because this is where the coding tutorials will take over. Thank you for watching. I hope it was helpful with getting VS Code set up.